Running for just the opposite. I kind of like it is, and if we do change here, I want to make sure we change in the right directions. If we grow here, I want to make sure we grow. It's controlled growth, you know. I guess that's all. I guess people can ask some questions and find out some more. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So next I'd like to have Mr. King. Mark King is running for post 3. So once again, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for office.
Good evening, folks, and thank you to the GCC for hosting this evening. A little bit about myself. Born in Boston, moved down here to Grantville in 2011, October 25th, as my wife keeps reminding me. And when I first came here, I was very impressed. I was mostly impressed with the downtown area and the beauty of it. So impressed that I'm very set to make sure that I can do everything that I possibly can to have it remain that way. As Mr. Weisskaser indicated, there can be 2 Granvilles. There can be the modern Granville located on acreage that is currently undeveloped, and there can be the historic Granville that has so much charm to it. It really does need some attention and needs to be preserved. I ended up on the city council when Mr. Riley retired. He and I saw eye to eye on some things, didn't on others, and that's the way things are on the council, actually. But the big thing is that Mr. Key and Mr. Gomez felt that I would be a good, fresh choice to put onto the city council. And I don't believe they were wrong. I'm very dedicated to what I'm doing with the city council, and as Ms. Selma once told me, it takes a year to a year and a half to learn how to really understand and do the position as a city council member. And she's probably right. But at the same time, I spend a lot of time studying and do a lot of time researching things, and been to the GMA training classes, and currently going to the Georgia Institute for Economic Development to learn how we can attract business and industry to the city of Grantville, something that will not really affect our internal services, but can bring some relief to our tax base and possibly provide some local employment for the residents who live here in Grantville and surrounding areas. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. We're just coming at yellow or red. Green! She's lucky I'm not colorblind. But no, I very much enjoyed working with the city. When she said it would take a year, 2 years and a half to learn what I need to learn, I believe I have pretty much accomplished a lot of that in 9 months. I'm not saying that I know everything, because there is still a lot to learn. But I also know that there are a lot of good people who live here in Grantville, and it is all about teamwork. It's not just the city council. It's the city council, it's the residents, it's the communication between them, and that is what's going to move the city forward. And with my red flag, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Baron Lundy, who's running for post number 3. Once again, introduce yourself and share with the audience why you're running for office.
Good evening. My name is Baron Lundy. I'm a 2-term council member. I lost my seat in the last election. I think why I'm trying to get back into politics is I'm not happy with the way this city is spending my money. I'm a physical conservative. I'm a social liberal. On money monetary issues, I don't believe in spending money on this. I look at things two ways. You got your wants and your needs. I believe in taking care of my needs first, and my wants later. I also look at things as assets and liabilities. That's the only way if you involved in politics. You gotta look at it from those four angles. I was born in this town 71 years ago, and I was here when it was prosperous, and I know what it takes to bring it back to prosperity. We got a lot of work to do, a whole lot of work to do. I'm not going to make you no promises. I'm not going to say we're going to have all this growth, because I understand in order for the city of Grantville to grow, it has to happen in a certain area. It has to happen in a certain area for the city of Grantville to benefit from any growth. Just to say we're going to get a factory in here, or Burger King or something, if it's not in the footprint of the city's limits where we can get revenue from all three utilities, it's not going to benefit the city of Grantville. I'm not going to make any promises that we're going to grow. That's a long way down the road. We got real serious issues here. This city runs off splash funds, utility funds, property taxes, and permits. Mostly splash funds and the enterprise funds, utilities. Has anybody here ever thought about what would happen if the voter goes to the polls in November next month and decide not to renew splash? What would happen to this city? We need to think about that. We should have been thinking about it a long time ago when we spent squandering our money. We have spent money in the city that we could have used for other reasons. In the 2 years since I've been going up and down there, they went crazy spending money. That's why I'm trying to get back down there to stop some of this. We got people that's sitting on that council don't understand what's going on here. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. I don't talk out of both sides of my mouth. If I tell you something, that's what it is. And I feel like I've got more to offer than anybody else in this town.
Right. The next set of questions, there were some questions that were brought to my attention that the people here in Grantville have some concerns. So each one of you will get an opportunity to elaborate on it. And for the sake of time, and because we also want to get questions from the audience, we're going to give you a minute to respond. Is that okay? Or do we need more than a minute? 2 minutes? All right, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Now, some of these questions are very general, and early we want to ask, we want to ask questions that everybody can kind of answer or relate to. Okay? So the first question, and I've heard this in each one of you when you were speaking and introducing yourself, is about growth. What type of growth will be needed for this city? Now, Grantville is in Coweta County, and Coweta is growing very well. Everybody knows how Newnan has grown. Everybody has known how Sonoma has grown in other towns. So my question to the panel is, what type of growth would you like to see come to the city of Grantville? What type of growth? All right. So do you want me to call each one of you up, or anybody want to volunteer first? Mr. King, come on. What is the type of growth do you think the city of Grantville needs?
This is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. Even prior to being on the city council, I had been looking and investigating into different business opportunities I would like to see develop here in the city. From Walmart with one of the neighborhood markets to Aldi's to most recent, I had tried to get Great Wolf. I was working with a real estate agent to try to put that deal together, and they ended up going to LaGrange after they got kicked out of Peachtree City. But the one that I was most interested in is a German company called Liddell. They're a grocery store chain in Germany. They're in the United States, based out of South Carolina, and they are here to do direct competition with Aldi's. And what I had envisioned for the city, and still hope to try to land, is a situation where they have a warehouse in Granville to bring us jobs, to have a small supermarket selling their goods in Granville, to give us local opportunities to do our shopping. And I believe that between the employment, and they would also, with a warehouse structure, not put that much of a drain onto our existing water and sewerage infrastructure. Yet at the same time, they'd be buying our electricity and our gas, which, as Mr. Lundy indicated, does do a bulk of our city funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, when we talk about growth opportunity for Granville, what do you think is going to be smart growth for the city of Granville? All right, so Ms. Barrett, would you like to comment on that? Got a minute?
Yes,
We said 2 minutes, I'm sorry.
Yes, I've been talking with the residents of the city to get their opinion, because the city council represents the community. And what I've heard is the need for growth in our downtown area, whether that be on Main Street or whether the downtown is on 29. But they would like to see, and even the young people would like to see growth. They would like to have a place to go, some sort of mall where they could hang out and congregate. So the growth in the downtown area with boutique shops, a place to go sit and have a cup of tea, and little antique shops, because that seems to be a favorite of a lot of people. So having something to increase in the business area, that type of growth. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, also, it's Wade
Wait,
Hazer.
yes, Ms. Hines, say the question all over again for me.
All right. Want to get your opinion on the type of growth for the city of Granville. You know, what kind of, and I heard you mentioned the term smart growth and controlled growth. So what type of growth do you think
I kind
best for
of
the city?
agree with Barrow that, you know, everybody says we need some industry in Granville. Well, you know, and I don't want to put, sometimes I say too much, but you see places that have completely given industry every kind of tax break and utility break and everything they can to create jobs, but at the same time, it didn't bring any revenue relative to what Barrow said earlier. I'd like to see some industry here, but at the same, if it doesn't benefit Granville, I just assume not see it. When I tell the story, when I came here in '96, there wasn't any subdivisions here. Granville's building code was lenient. House builders, home builders flocked here to make more money. And fortunately, now they've adopted a better building code, but that's what I'm saying when I talk about controlled growth. I think if we grow any more, somebody sure needs to monitor what other people are coming into our town and do it, and make sure that we're kind of watching over, guard dogging them kind of people. And everybody talks about our grocery store. You know, in the near future, if you know what I'd like to do if I got elected, and maybe if I don't get elected, somebody else can do this, but is go to Dollar General or go to Walmart and ask them about building one of these smaller markets here. You know, that'd be better than, maybe if we can't get a full-fledged grocery store here, maybe we could get one of those for right now. And it will save people, you know, units growing south this way, we've got a big grocery store in Hogansville, so, you know, anything will be better than what we got, if that makes any sense when it comes to groceries and markets. So, I'm about to get the red flag.
Mr. Lundy?
We're talking about growth here. What I would like to see in this town. We got a situation here where we got a 2-mile or the 3 miles city, from the city hall to the city limits. I guess it's 2 or 3 miles, I'm not really sure. 3 miles? Well, the city of Grantville only controls from city hall to the first mile out. By that I mean, the city of Grantville controls all the utilities, the revenue from 3 utilities, gas, water, and electricity. The boundaries are from Brash Park over to Summer Hill on the north, to Calico Loop on the south, to Grandma Branch Road on the, I guess it's the west, or the west, and Lono Road, there is no room for growth. In order for the city of Grantville to prosper from any growth here, the growth has to come within that area. Anything outside of that area, the city of Grantville will not get revenue from the 3 utilities. We will only get property tax, because we got water outside of that area. No revenue from electricity, none from gas. So in order for the city of Grantville to benefit, the growth has to come within that area. And the only place that the city of Grantville got to for growth is in the old mill. Nowhere else. But there is a way. We sit on some valuable real estate here that we're using to store waste. What this city needs is about 10 years down the road.
Thank you. Okay, another question that was brought up is regarding the water bill in the city. Some citizens feel like the water bills are very high, and they also feel like the system that measures your water is antiquated. So it was to the understanding that the city did vote to put in automatic readers for water meters. So we would like for each one of you to expound on the infrastructure of the city. And what do you think the city needs to do, or if you're elected, what would you do to help in the innovation of new technology for the city, and especially around the water? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna give someone a chance who wants to go up and address that. And remember, you got 2 minutes. I know it's a long question. The infrastructure about the water, the high water bill, and being able to have meters that would read, automatic readers on the water meters.
I'm quite familiar with them. When I lived up in Massachusetts, that is what we had. I would like to see that done throughout the city for a variety of reasons, along with the Wi-Fi and internet connections, so that it would eliminate that 5% of error that happens on manually inputted numbers. The ones we had up north worked perfectly. The meter reader would come by, put his little device at it, it would read it. That was first generation. That's what Grantville is trying to get established now. The next generation is that there are Wi-Fi transceivers on phone poles, and these meters actually automatically report to that device, and that device reports to City Hall, directly to the building, and there is no meter reading. Talk about eliminating errors. I myself review my utility bills every month, and without question. I have heard horrible complaints from some citizens. I have even gone to look at their houses, at their meters, and with everything turned off in the house, the little red wheel on the meter is turning, which means they have a leak. City of Grantville itself, that's another area that needs some very careful, dedicated consideration. I go, how much water are we paying Coweta County for, and how much are we billing the customers for, and whatever is missing is what we are leaking, and I understand that that's something that really needs some very serious attention. But
Thank you. Mr. Lovett?
Like I said before, we got a lot of problems here. The city loses around $4,500 to $5,000 worth of water every month. Lost water. We need to make some upgrades to our water system. We need a whole new water system. Nobody knows in this city where all the cutoffs are. So when the workers go out to repair the water, what they do is they cut off on a fire hydrant closest to where they're working to release some of the pressure. That's water going down the street. We need a new water system. Now, as far as the utility bills, we got a loan, a cheaper loan. I think it's about $8,000 to $9,000 that we're paying off. I think it's about another couple of years we would have paid it off. But the citizens need some relief from these utility bills. We can't do anything about that, but what we can do is put out 2 utility bills a month. That would give the workers, the people that live here, some relief on their utility bills. If we put out 2 utility bills, one with gas and electricity, the other one with water and sewer, one due on the first, the other one due sometime in the middle of the month. That would help the citizens, the people that are paying into the system, give them some relief. Now, when it comes to a grocery store, I'm just going to be frank, this is my opinion. I don't see why the city of Grantville can get a grocery store. Why? Because if the grocery store was here, it would have to sell higher than the chain stores because it couldn't buy in volume like Kroger, Publix, or Walmart. It couldn't buy that in bulk. So it would have to sell at higher prices. Everybody in this town, the majority of the people, live in subdivision. They either work in Atlanta, Newnan, Hogansville, LaGrange, or Columbus. And they buy grocery on their way home at the cheapest store that they come by.
Yeah, the utility bills, especially the water bills, that's been one of the concerns that has been expressed to me, that the citizens are concerned about, the pocketbook issues. So I feel that it's up to the city council to put a plan in place to deal with that issue, to keep the citizens informed of what they're doing about it, to send out questionnaires to get information, to talk to technicians that can make recommendations for improvements to the system, because it is a technical issue, and that would be something that I would be very much concerned about if I'm elected to the city council, is that something immediately is done about it, because that is something that people move into the city, and when they get their utility bill, they're just baffled as how they're going to be able to pay it every month. So they might stay for maybe 6 or 7 months, and the next thing you know, there's a U-Haul truck and they're moving out. So we want people to come in and want them to stay, and lower utility bills would help them stay. Thank you.
Now, Ms. Hines, is there another question on your list about the power bills? Or is okay. You know, to be perfectly honest, I don't know enough about the water system to answer this question. I do know, I've been here long enough to know that our utilities infrastructure is very brittle. I think it's outdated, and sure, it'd be nice if you could snap your fingers tomorrow and say, hey, let's put in a new one. But I think if you talk to anybody that knows anything about it, that's impossible. But I think we ought to work toward improving it, for sure. If there's any loss of water, waste of water, I know we have some situations, I don't know how many people this pertains to, but there's some people that buy water from Whiteville and are charged, their sewer is combined with that, and there's some septic tanks in Whiteville. I don't know if it would help the people that have a septic tank not have to pay sewer to. I've thought that a lot of times here. But if this was a power question, I had a little bit more opinion about it. Since it's water, I'm just going I do want to learn about it, and I want to learn what kind of improvements we can make, and I want to talk to those people and find out what could be done.
Thank you. The last general question, then I'll get to the questions that were sent over that you all have wrote down. This other question is a public safety question. It's been shared with us that the city of Granville has estimated a population of about 3,000 people within the city of Granville. And when we talk about public safety, we're talking about your police department, your first responders, things of this nature. So the question is, what do you think is needed in the city for public safety? And what would you do to help better public safety? And specifically around the police department. The other part of this question is it has been brought to the attention that currently right now the police department has, and this is an approximate, 14 officers for the city of Granville. So the question is, what do you think the city needs as far as public safety, as far as the police department, and what do you think the citizens need to do to make sure they feel safe in the city? Still on?
I support public safety. I don't have a problem with what's happening here in this city now as it relates to public safety. I think it's an improvement, a real improvement over what we had in the past. But now we do have the police officers interacting with the community. They are friendly, but they do their job. But I support public safety. I have a strong support for public safety. I don't have any problems with the police department. I think they're doing an excellent job. And as far as the number goes, I believe that when you're talking about police officers, I believe that you should only add police officers to address an increase in the crime rate, and you only add officers to patrol the area where the crime rate has increased. But that said, I feel good about what we got here as it relates to public safety and the police department. I like the way they're policing. I like the way I like the officers. They're nice, they're friendly, they're kind, but they do their job. They talk to you, but they still do their job. And we need that. We need that security. So I can't say anything negative about the police department other than I support them.
I do want to do clarification. This question is not to be one that's saying, are they doing a good or a bad job? It's the question is, for you, what do you think is more needed in the city? So I don't want to give anyone the impression that because, and the reason I want to elaborate is there is on a national level right now, public safety is looked at in a different way. So we want you trying to address that in that tone. Okay? Mr. King.
On the subject of public safety, what we've got right now is we've got a police department that is orchestrating a fall festival for the city, and they need to be applauded for that. They took it upon themselves, lacking a recreation department, to go ahead with that and provide that service to the community. That's above and beyond. That's the type of police force I'd like to see in my city. I believe the police force is probably at about the right size, actually. Back in the day when there were no subdivisions, 1 or 2 officers could do the job in this little part of the county. Today, no, with all the subdivisions, the problems we have with street crimes, burglaries, car break-ins, all those things, the police have to be out and about to drive around the city and see that, and I have seen them do that. The link between, one of the studies that I was in on at GMA was a link between the police department and the recreation department. And in Atlanta and other areas, it has been proven that that link helps keep kids going down the right path. And so what would I do to improve our police, our public safety, would be to dedicate more funding and more personnel and to an organized recreation department. I've tried to do that without success, but hopefully in the near future, that is going to come to pass, because I think that is a very valuable asset in keeping the crime rate down in the city of Granville. Love it where it is. Thank you.
Ms. Berry?
Yes, Granville has a reputation of being one of the safest cities in Coweta County. And that's one of the reasons that my husband and I decided to stay here, because we felt safe. And we felt that it was a good community to be in, especially if you're raising children. The public relations, I would like to see the police department do more of what they're doing now. They're organizing a fall festival, and I think that's wonderful. It's going to be on the 29th of this month. And take a proactive role related to the youth. And I know that many cities have a designated officer it's specialized in dealing with juveniles. And I would like to see the city have a specialized officer dealing with the young people. The city has I think they have taken a good approach as to giving the police department some latitude in how they police the city. The only bad thing I've heard about the police department, and it's kind of like, it gives a bad image for the city, is people passing down 85. They're being stopped and given tickets. And so if you ever go down to City Hall in the holding court, you will see a lot of people lined up that's gotten a ticket and they're passing through Granville. So we got a bad reputation for that. Thank you.
Ms. Hines, can you explain that question? You got back up, you said.
That's okay. The basic question is, what are your view on public safety? And what would you do to improve, or do you think there needs to be any improvement, but where do you stand? And the question was that right now your population is about 3,000 people, and for the size of the current police department, it's like 14 officers.
Sure. Number one, I think we got the best police department we've had since I came here 20 years ago. In reference to what Ms. Berry said, and I don't mind saying what I've seen and what I think, the police chief we had before here, the police officers spent 20 of 24 hours a day on the interstate. The officers we got now don't spend that much time out there. Now, I'm not saying they're not out there at times. I own a business here, we own a home here. I know that they're doing what they're supposed to within the city limits. I know they're out there sometimes, and they have reached out to help with events, and their public image here is good, I think. They're very professional. I think they're doing a wonderful job. As far as the money spent, the number of officers, I don't know. I know that they've got to be held accountable. The city's got to stay in the black, and they're a big part of that. I understand that. But at the same time, I want to support them all we can. One big thing with me is I wish that our officers had some better benefits. I really think that I think there's other jobs in their line of work that offer more benefits than we offer here in Bryan. And like I said, we've got to stay within a budget, but at the same time, I got you, didn't I? I got you.
All right. The next question comes from the audience, and the question is, we need a code enforcement, and they're feeling that some properties is overgrown as far as the grass and things of that nature. Also, maybe there may be vehicles that are in a property that's abandoned or not up to date or anything. So what are your views on code enforcing or enforcing the codes that the city has? And as far as will this have any effect, or do you think it will have any effect on potential growth or people moving into the city as well as businesses? Okay, Mr. King, you seem the eager one to go.
Well, somebody's got to get up and do it, or we're not going to get out of here tonight. Code enforcement. Yeah. We need a code enforcement officer who's going to go out and do his job. I don't believe we have one. We have a guy who sits at a desk, fills his position, but as well as there are some codes in the city of Granville that need to be revisited and revised. The entire charter needs to be revised for that matter. But as some code enforcement, we don't get much. I had some constituents complain over in the village area, and I turned that over to the city manager. He turned it over to code enforcement. Code enforcement went down, wrote some citations, did what he was supposed to do, but somebody had to give him a kick to get him to get going. No, he should not be sitting around City Hall for hours and hours on end. He should be out driving around the city, making sure that the grasses are cut, making sure that my neighbor's trash barrel has been brought in for the first time. No, he did bring it in once in 4 years. He didn't want to see it flow down the street. But those are the type of things, they will benefit the city. When people come to look at properties here, either for industrial development or moving their families here, I've recently moved my daughter and my grandson here. I feel Granville is that safe of a community, and it also will be a great place for her to bring up her child. Code enforcement, as long as they do their job and administer it fairly throughout the community, will be a very, very welcome thing here in Granville. Thank you.
Ms. Berry, would you like to elaborate on that? The question is, we need a code enforcer for properties that have overgrowth, grass, bad vehicles that are in the yard. So what's your views on that?
Well, personally, I think the code enforcement officer has a big job to cover, one person to cover all of the city and all of the properties. There are properties that are overgrown, and there are properties that need to have repairs done to them. And with the Historic Preservation Commission, we have been looking at that and properties that are within the historic district. And these are the older homes. And we found that the residents want to improve or bring their properties up to code, but they have problems coming up with the funds to do it. Now, I feel that maybe the city could put together a program where they could offer low or no interest loans to people who have these problems to get the problem fixed and be able to make reasonable payments to get it paid back. I think the city has to work in hand with property owners that are having problems getting their property back up to code or getting their property cleared up, because it's usually a monetary issue.
Who hasn't answered that yet?
However, I like being last.
That's a tough one. Code enforcement. I got mixed ideas on code enforcement. If the code enforcer did his job, it would be a good thing. I feel like he is very selective in who he cites for violations. I feel like he's not. The biggest violator is normally the person that owns the most property. And I feel like that person is not being cited. I feel like he's being given a pass, and the code enforcer is looking the other way at other people. So if he does his job, it's okay, but I just don't feel like he's doing what he's supposed to do. For instance, in the historic district, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and he's not even trying to make it right.
So once again, we need a bulldozer over properties that have overgrown or cars or things, that's a deterrent, that doesn't look well. So I think the question is, what are your views on that and what should be done?
Well, it's like a lot of things in Granville, I think it's to one extreme or another. We had a city manager here one time and that just went overboard with code enforcement. I mean, businesses had signage in their windows, he was giving them tickets. And I looked around and they had given a ticket to one woman, the only people they gave a ticket to was a woman and the guy that owned the Mexican restaurant. And what I got to thinking, what about everybody else? That's discrimination, that ain't right really, to pick on a woman and a Mexican guy. But people with cars sitting in the yard, people's got rights. That belongs to them, and I understand, but I think we just need to find a happy medium with code enforcement. I think it's been, under those same circumstances, in a way, the economy crashed, or what jobs, people having money to go down there in the village to somebody's house that doesn't have any insulation and the power bill's out of sight, and the code enforcement, the guy tells him, says, you gotta spend $1,000 to fix this porch. That's kind of heartbreaking to somebody that's just can't hardly buy groceries. I mean, I just wish we could find the middle of the road with it. We'll need some to improve each code enforcement, no doubt. I agree. But at the same time, you got to look at all the circumstances and not, step on anybody's rights, basically. If that makes some sense. I just kind of see it from both sides of the road, I guess.
Thank you. All right, the last portion of this will be each candidate will have 2 minutes to kind of give a summary of yourself and your platform, what it is that you're most interested in accomplishing if you are elected to the city council. So at this point, once again, just do a summary of the things that you think is most important. Also, during this time, you had some questions and some things that were brought up maybe you weren't even aware of that the citizens was concerned about. This is also a time to bring all that in together and do that, okay? So Mr. King, you always are willing to go first, so we're gonna call you up.
No problem, man. Talk about a variety of different subjects tonight, and some of the more important ones didn't get touched on. It's sad, but we have limited time. Some of the things that we are working on the internet with Don Bauer from AT&T and Stan White from the New Jersey Public Service Commission. We're trying to get the rest of the city of Granville covered. We need to improve citizens' input on critical council decisions. There should be a means where the citizens can talk to the council members sitting on the council and have an open discussion with them. Not on every little issue of the city, but there are some important issues that come up from time to time, and that's something the city is lacking. I'd like to see that get started. Repurposing the old mill building. I'd like to see us attract a bottling company or something of that sort, especially with the availability of fresh water there as well. I think that would be a very good fit to bring in some jobs, to bring in some traffic to downtown, and that is what downtown needs. It needs more traffic. We need to maintain what we already have before we go spending money on stuff that we really don't need. We need to fix our sidewalks. We need to fix our streets. We need to keep our city equipment fixed. We need to work for grants. We need to, in my opinion, one of the things we need to do is restore the old gym up in the City Hall building. That'd be an excellent youth activity center, and we already own the property. I think we might be able to try to do that. Create an official recreation department. Ensure our employees are paid a comparable wage to retain our good employees. I'm not singling any one department out, but some departments are amply paid at this time, and some departments are not. And those departments that are not should be brought up to the local income standards. Lastly, one more thing. It's important. Lastly, and most importantly, increased transparency, improved communication with our citizens. And social media plays a big part in that, but don't believe everything you post or read on social media. A lot lies in there too. Thank you.
Ms. Barry?
Yes. The questionnaire that came from the Granville Concerned Citizens Committee asked each one of us to list 3 objectives we would like to see the city achieve. And I returned my questionnaire, and my 3 objectives that I put down there was renovation of city-owned buildings, specifically the auditorium, which can be a multi-use building. And I felt that that would be good for the city, have a place for people to meet, and provide opportunities for a gathering place. And it would also, it's a beautiful building, and it's sitting right next to City Hall. It needs to be ready to be used. Some work was begun by the previous city manager, and our current city manager has done some things over there too, but we really need to get it retrofitted, and whatever it needs to be opened up, we need to open it up. The second thing I put on my list was installation of sidewalks, walking paths. That's something that's sorely needed in some of our subdivisions. You've got a street running through there. If you want to walk, you walk on the street. So sidewalks. And then my third was economic development. Economic development is something that would bring some life into the city. And according to our comprehensive plan, which covers the period of 2016
part of me, and the strongest part of me. I don't really spend no money. I ain't gonna spend no money on nothing that's not needed. This city needs some upgrades to its infrastructure. Bad. We need to bring business downtown. Bad. We need a Wi-Fi system, and a citywide Wi-Fi system. Bad. We need sidewalks in these subdivisions, not only subdivisions, the whole town needs to be upgrading sidewalks. Bad. We also need somebody to market this city, which we don't have. I mean, we putting the cart in front of the horse. We got a long way to go. When I first came on council in 2006, that was some developer wanted to develop this piece of property up beside the interstate. And that 10-year build-out plan, they wanted to be able to admit 1.5 million gallons worth of waste. We didn't have the capacity then, and we don't have the capacity now for anybody to come in and want to do that kind of project. What this city really needs, like I said before, it's 10 years down the road before Ms. Cody put the red light on it, is this city needs a wastewater filtration plant. Bad. But that's about 10 years down the road. And the only way we're going to get it, we have to float bonds to do it, but we need one.
Well, I'm just now getting the butterflies out. It's a shame I ain't got about 15 minutes. You know, I admitted earlier that I'm new to this, and there's a lot I've got to learn. Number one, no doubt our city financially has got to stay in the black. We know that. I don't know what kind of grants and bonds and funds is available to do things. I agree with Barry that our infrastructure needs working on from downtown out to the interstate where we can support some industry. At the same time, I want to keep our police department healthy. I want to keep our public works department healthy. I think we have a good group up there in City Hall now. I think our city manager's very qualified, our chief of police is overqualified. I want to see them stay. Well, since I came here, those kind of people have been like a revolving door here. Next thing you know, there's city manager gone and another one coming and full on new chief of police. I want to keep what we got. I think they're good people. And let's support our utility. You know, Grantville complains. People in Grantville complain a lot. We just need to work together. And I do want to get, like I said, a mediocre sized grocery store here if we can't have a big one. Let's start little and grow. So, thank you.
All right, let's give all the candidates a hand. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for coming out. Hopefully, some of the things that were brought up were some of your concerns. But once again, if you didn't hear anything that you think is very important to you, please get in